How we survive, I don't know. But we kept on absorbing and absorbing, believing that as inflation moves values up, then it increases our premiums. But by the time you see the full effect of the new law, it will not be so. Because when the risk base and your minimum capital in relation to your risk exposure, when it comes up, it will not be so. Okay, so we need to learn, because our prayer should be inflation should continue to go down so that more people will have more money to buy insurance. But you should know that if it doesn't happen, then you have greater challenges. Okay. In Nigeria itself, 49% of corporate executives worry about inflation based on recent surveys. Consequences: eroded consumer purchase power, rising input and operational costs, price instability complicates budgeting, planning, investment, and contract negotiations. Of course, the cost of debt and, of course, the cost of capital. When you have high interest rates, the focus, the expectation is that interest rates will begin to go down. So that will be good for businesses. Then you can borrow money, and then you can see some further developments. Naira volatility, I've talked about that. We're hoping that as we go on, Naira will still firm up. It's estimated it will end up at about 1,450 to the dollar by the end of the year. Okay, going into next year with another ball game. If this incident that happened becomes a wake-up call and government tackles insecurity the way they should tackle it and not play politics with it, we might actually see the dollar going down to below 1,000. We actually could see it go, because what it will do, once we remove insecurity, we're going to have a higher level of inflows. And once we have a higher level of foreign inflows, definitely you're going to have, because the demand for naira, for dollar will reduce. It's a function of supply and demand. All you need to do is up the supply and find a way to manage the demand, and then you have your prices will go down. Somewhere in the equilibrium, I pray it will be at 450 naira to. Everybody is saying amen. But all of us still want to buy everything from China. It's high time we start doing Thai with the Ashoke. Even though Ashoke is now coming from China. Hi. Okay. Oh. Maybe the next course we should do is actually, every one of us should start learning Chinese. Okay, so what do we do? I mean, your investments must always be in such a way that you are looking at hedging against inflation. That's the best you can do. Whether you like it or not, it's a natural phenomenon. Inflation must come. So your investments must be dynamic. Gone are the days when you just put your money and put it in the bank for fun. Any money that you are not going to use tomorrow or in the next 1 month, go and look for an investment to put it in. When you are disciplined financially as a person, then your company will also be disciplined financially. That's the truth. So if you are not disciplined by yourself, you will not be able to get it in your organizations. And like I said, you can use AI to do a lot of things. AI can help you in terms of your analysis, trying to do your scenario planning, trying to do your forecasting, and helping you in terms of what trend you should have, especially for manufacturers who are pricing their products and they have to deal with variable pricing over a period of time. Insurance, we don't necessarily do that, because once you have a contract for 1 year, you have to live with that. You can't say you want to review their premium in the course of the year. But at least you should be able to look at the totality of your portfolio and say, look, where is my profitability in the whole of this thing? And AI can actually help you. Again, a caveat on AI, even though we're going to talk about it, a caveat on AI. AI is about garbage in, garbage out. Okay? And let me be very honest with you, AI too sometimes lies. Okay? So don't think everything AI tells you is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Because what AI does is basically search around depending on how much depth of analysis you've asked it to do, it scouts and scouts and scouts and scouts, and then comes back and give you a position. If you ask AI about insecurity in Nigeria, it will tell you, yes, indeed, America should know better than Nigeria. That's what AI will tell you. But really, do they know better than us? Do they know better than us? Eh? Do they know better than us? Do they know better than us? The nose have it. Okay, now let's look at supply chain. Supply chain, for those of you who are interested in trading, even when you look at our insurance business, okay, because capital is all about what we need, especially those that will go abroad and say you want to buy reinsurance. It's all about capital. If the market where you are going to buy your reinsurance, if there is no stability, the capital will not be available. If the capital is not available, if you that doesn't have and you want to buy, that means you're going to have to pay more. Okay, so when we are talking about supply chain, we're not just talking about those that move the goods and all of that. It's also in services. And what supply is available for you depends on the market. And what plays the market is the cost of the capital, cost of the funds, that decides whether you're going to have a good market or you're going to have a bad market, whether it's going to be hard or whether it's going to be soft, or whether it's going to cost you this or whether it's not going to cost you this. And so when you have government policies at every time, it will always create that environment. In the UK, for example, now, there is the fear that another person like Donald Trump will become the Prime Minister of UK if there is an election. So the question remains in the environment that can you have a Donald Trump in the US and have another Donald Trump in the UK? I mean, think about it. You think it's impossible? It's very possible. Because why? Because the global issue now is immigration. Everybody, the global issue is immigration. And whether you like it or not, we are all selfish. It's all self-preservation. So it's possible. And so if it is possible, how will it affect your supply chain? How will it affect you when you then get... How many people remember Brexit? Brexit affected even us in insurance. Because if there is no capacity in the market where you are going to, so what do? You can't create the capacity overnight. So those are issues that, when you look at everything in totality, they're so intertwined that you cannot separate one from the other. It's like domino effect. You shift one, you shift the geopolitical environment, it affects everything up until our own living. All of us were living quietly before. We never bothered about Boko Haram. We say, oh, it's their problem. But the minute somebody says it's coming to raid Nigeria, it becomes all our problems. Every one of us become social media, political scientists and all. Okay, so again, you just have to be alive to your environment. That is the totality of everything. Just be alive to your environment. Real-time visibility is possible. Transparency must be the way to go. The management of your relationships, your suppliers, your service providers, your reinsurers, your underwriters, relationship management is the way to go. You cannot afford it not to have a relationship that you can affect, that is beneficial to every single person that is part of that contract or environment. And of course, ESG is another. I assume everybody knows what ESG is about, although we'll talk about it also briefly. There is cybersecurity. Okay, cybersecurity threat is, I think, is one of the things that keeps everybody awake now. Nobody is safe in the real sense of it. I think if you really want to make money now, just go and study cybersecurity, and I can assure you, you'll make a lot of money. I actually thought about it, but it's just that, you know, my brain cautioned me and said, my friend, behave yourself. Because it's such, look, every time you read the news, organizations are being hacked on a daily basis. ordinary WhatsApp that we use is being hacked on a daily basis. So that will become a threat. It's not going to go away. It's going to be worse with AI. Because, I was listening to a session and a presenter said, okay, he's going to do his presentation, and we were expecting to see him come and stand like this, and the next thing we saw was he was on the screen, and he was talking to us on the screen, and we all believed that he was the one. So he then stood up from the back and said, how many people believe that that was him? And we all said, it was you recorded it. And he said, yes. But the truth of the matter is that it wasn't him. True, it was his voice, his mannerisms, the way he talks, the way he moves, but it wasn't him. He said he did it just to demonstrate what we are in for, not next year, not next month, even right now. So we need to be very careful. Somebody's going to call you. There is a story of the guy who did an authorization, and he could swear that it was the staff and all that he spoke with. They were the ones. And they took a huge amount of money off the system. And he wasn't the one. He was so sure that they spoke with the staff. And he said no. So that is what we need. But there are always solutions. Embedded in every problem is a solution. It's a function of where you are looking. If you get too carried away with the problem and you say, it's not my portion, God forbid. I'm a Christian, but you're wasting your time. Because God gave you wisdom. God gives you people all around you. So it's a function of, are you burying your head in the sand? Or are you getting to be alive to really focus and deal with the issues that are coming? But cybersecurity, it's a very... And again, what do? AI enables cybersecurity. It can help you. You will spend money, yes. People-centric security. People need to know. Just like Mrs. Adebumi said, look, you have to let your people know that it involves their lives also. It has to be a culture. It's not a policy. Policy will get sanctions. So what else after sanctions? But if it's a culture that, look, there is no way, if I am not on my system, I know what to do. I'm not going to circumvent this because this is the way we do things in our business. So it's got to be a culture. You must have multi-layers authentication. Now, in WhatsApp, you have a two-digit, two-way factor, whatever they call it. Banks, if you notice, I don't know if you've gotten the alert, but the messages with banks now is that when you go beyond certain amount, you must use token. Some banks have even removed facial recognition for you to authorize your transactions. Because anybody can is a clone or AI, they can AI your eyes, your facial whatever. They can even AI your... So banks are going in that direction now. We are going back to the old days. They say you must use token. Banks are asking you now to sign indemnity because they know that there's no guarantee. There's nothing anybody cannot do. Of course, you must always have collaboration among the various sectors. We must learn from each other. We must share experiences so that we can... Regulatory changes and compliance challenges. We all were expecting the new law, no doubt. But we never knew that it was going to be 12 months for us to implement. Okay? But you had your budget for the year. Your budget never included anything about extra cost of compliance. Now, if you're a CEO, of course, that is 1-2 hours sleep gone for that period because you're asking yourself the question, how, where, when, and all. But it's a reality. It's on the ground. Does the regulator himself have any choice? No, the regulator doesn't have any choice. The regulator didn't pass the law. So the regulator must also be in compliance with the law, or else they will be charged with disobedience to the law, and you could end up in prison. So it's everybody trying to make the best of the situation. Again, we saw what happens with tariffs and all of that. The president woke up and issued it. There are regulators that are going to have to implement it. They are the ones that will not sleep. Okay, so it's everywhere. For us now, it's NERA that we are dealing with. But look at the education sector. Every time you open the news, new syllabus today, tomorrow, additional subjects. Tomorrow, we are removing these subjects. This time, we are even abandoning this. So that is whether you like it or not. And as we are approaching 2027, I don't know if you are thinking about it. If there is a continuity, if there is continuity, you are good. But what happens if there is no continuity from 2027? All those policies will change again. You're going to have reversals. So there are challenges for any business. One of the things that a lot of people doing business will tell you is that the fact that they cannot predict successfully what is going to happen the next minute or what's going to happen the next 1 year, it's a major concern. You wake up without your knowing it, 15% import duty on fuel and diesel. So what happens to the prices of diesel? You woke up, you go to bed, you've done your budget. The next thing you hear, band A or band C or band Z has gone up. Okay, so those are issues that you come with. And you know the tax law is coming, 2026, all right? It's it's going to be an additional responsibility to employers. Because in the time when you sort of like say, okay, my staff, but now you're going to have to make sure that each of the staff that you employ, you know the deductions, what you are deducting. And it's not just ordinary deduction, you must be accountable for what you are deducting. Changes are going to come with the withholding tax. It's okay if you're on the SME level. But if you are not, even in your private business, because even if you say, I have a side hustle, your side hustle now is exposed to tax, because except it's not going into your bank account. And don't forget, even if you open a bank account in your old side hustle name, you're still going to have your BVN. So that is what? No hiding from the taxman. So again, the problem is you're doing a business and you are faced with multiple agencies and regulators that you need to deal with. And each one of them have their own characteristics, have their own. The CEO of the agency wakes up and feels this should be done, and then it goes into effect, and you have to deal with it. One of the key solutions, I would say, every organization should have a compliance unit. You should have one person charged with the responsibility of sleeping and waking up to what? Ensuring compliance. Otherwise, the downside of it will not be your best. I mean, you won't like it. Again, there is a lot of ISOs in the environment. I think almost everything these days have ISO. I'm waiting for one day where we'll have ISO on the amount of sleep we have. That will be an ISO standard for sleep, So you must be alive to your environment. You must have somebody who is consistently looking at the issues. You must be able to do stress testing for your businesses. You must be able to have, at the board level, there must be compliance, there must be oversight for compliance. You must be able to ask yourself the question, what could happen? You must be able to come to the point where you can, at least to a reasonable extent, predict the move or a direction that your regulator is likely to move. You have social unrest and workforce disruption. Thank God these days none of us seems to reckon too much with is it NLC they call them now, or is it NLC and those labor, TUC and NLC and Pengasan, when they say they want to go on strike now, we just say those ones have come again. The government will settle them. We don't bother again. But you see, the reality is, don't forget, social media has its own power. Okay? So if social media decides to come on your company, you will know that it's worse than the labor union. So, so those are issues that we also need to focus on. It could happen at any time. Okay? And 75% of business risk leaders in 2025 identify social unrest, protest, and political polarization as top threats. That is on a global scale. But like I said, anything that happens on a global scale, just know that it has a potential to happen in Nigeria. You must never forget that. And that's why I picked some of those issues to highlight it. It's important. You need to treat your people, your staff, you need to treat them well. Like they say, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys working for you. You treat your people as animals, they will respond to you as animals. Reality of life. You got to be able to go down to the level and understand the people. If you stay as manager, you will become managing problems. If you become a leader, you will find yourself, you will lead people. A leader will go down to understand what the problems of the people he wants to lead, what the problems are, and then he leads them out of the problem. That's when you too can be sure that your organization will function. I don't know whether are we still witnessing Japa syndrome now? I think they're now Japa dying, have you? They've stopped. So everybody's Japa dying now. Okay. So once that involves them owning equity in the company and all of that, but it goes beyond money. It goes beyond the emotional intelligence level being high enough to understand that you need to treat your people well for you to get the advantage. Now, climate change. We've talked about climate change before. For any business, it's also a problem. Because if rain is supposed to stop and rain is not stopping, it will affect, depending on the scope of business you have. Let's take insurance, which is like a common ground for all of us. Let's take insurance. If rain is supposed to stop and you say, okay, flood is going to stop and it's still flooding, what are you going to do? Farmers, they're supposed to not have rain, but they're still having rain. There's a potential risk exposure there. So, and climate change is real. Climate change is real. When the sun comes now, before, we know that in February, I think it's February, January, February is always the peak of sun in Abuja. But now, you'll be surprised that even up until May, June, the sun is still hammering you like when it is supposed to not to be. So it's something that, but you see, in every of these problems, there is a potential for you to make money. So if you pay attention to your environment, if you pay attention to sustainability, you may find out that your company will still make money because you'll be able to mine the opportunities that are available. And in all of this also, you have the global monitoring. UN always create jobs for themselves to do. Okay, so now it is ESG, and it is how you are responding, now how you are reporting, what you are supposed to report, and you know, how do we know whether you are lying or you are not lying? If you want to go and borrow money now, for those who are looking to fresh capital, you know, part of the report you must submit is your ESG, is your environmental, social, and governance. You know, you must be able to talk about what are you doing, how are you contributing to the environment. You must be able to talk about sustainability of your business, and they want to see your governance structure. It's important now. So ESG has stopped being just a fad. It is now a part of a business. There is nowhere you go to borrow money as a business, even to raise capital. If you go to venture capitalist companies now, you still need to, it's a whole thing they will ask you. And begin to ask yourself, what's my own problem? But they just must see, because they too, where they are going to borrow money from, they also want to be seen as an organization that is conscious of the environment. So then, again, mitigating against all of this, it's all about looking at what is the best practice on a global basis. Again, like I said, AI tool is full. If you ask Copilot and say, give me a deep research or deep thinking on this subject, what is the best framework for ESG, whatever, it will give you everything. You don't want to, that's when you will not. It's the best way. Know what is happening in the global environment, the best practice, and try as much as possible to fit yourself into it and derive the benefit at the same time. Nigeria, our greatest challenge is infrastructural challenges. I always make the joke that in my house, I'm a local government unto myself. I don't think I've even used public water in 20 years. Public. I said, Biko, leave me alone. When their pipe got damaged in front of my house, I was the one that repaired it. So I told them, I said, I don't want. I was the one that repaired the pipe. After I reported to them that your pipe has busted, come and repair it. Yes, our guy will come. 2 days, they have not showed up. And the thing, water now and erosion. So I told my plumber, please fix it. They didn't know whether it was fixed or not. They never showed up. So you have that problem. You have road. Road is a problem. Except Abuja. If you come to Abuja, we have good roads. Forget about that. The roads does not have signage. The roads don't have signage. The roads are not marked, but we have roads. Lagos have roads. Are you sure? Okay, mass transit, but no roads. But mass transit. So we have infrastructural challenges. And that could be excess money. It's an excess expense that you can do without, especially with light. Diesel, even now, everybody's afraid of, after the Afriland fire, everybody's becoming afraid of inverters now, storing inverters and batteries and all of that. Even lithium batteries that we thought are safe, everybody's afraid now. So that is becoming, those is a big challenge to businesses. But what can you do? You have to live with it. Except you can transfer your costs to your consumers, then you're on your own. Okay, options. We know we have a lot of public-private partnerships in a lot of those areas. We hope that it can be sustained. We hope that over a period of time, people will see examples of what is happening in other areas, and we will be able to move. Digitization, again, our problem is the broadband. If you see the way, it's not as if in other environments they don't have downtimes too. They do have downtimes, but there's a big challenge. Have you tried to download on the internet or something in Nigeria, and sometimes you go to sleep and wake up and it's still downloading. Okay, but you get into another environment, and you try to download, and you say, okay, let me quickly do this thing. Before you come back, the thing has finished. And you begin to wonder, but it's a reality. You must continuously invest to be able to get the best. Nobody is timing me, but I'm done. Now, my last lines. The current threat landscape confronting global enterprise is volatile, fast evolving, and deeply interconnected. Geopolitical realignment, economic turbulence, persistent supply chain disruptions, technology vulnerabilities, regulatory fragmentation are neither isolated nor transitory. They will shape the operational and strategic context come. Layered upon these are the imperatives of ESG compliance, climate adaptation, and social risk management, all of which raise the bar for organizational resilience and accountability. To thrive, not merely to survive. In this landscape, businesses must move from reactive to predictive risk management. You have to use scenario analysis, digital innovation, and holistic frameworks that cut across silos. Invest in organizational learning, workforce flexibility, data-driven decision-making to remain agile and opportunity-focused. Let me go to this one that I love. So by treating risk management as a lever for strategic advantage and embracing innovation and resilience, companies will not only protect their people and assets, but also unlock new growth pathways in the uncertain world of 2025 and beyond. Nothing can make the world more uncertainty or uncertain than when you have the world power that is uncertain. Thank you very much.
I'm sure all of us here have really been dazzled by this kind of in-depth knowledge from our Army, Odun Ayobameke. We thank you very much. Please a round of applause for him again. And with all humility, I would like to say once again that the knowledge that we are sharing together here is, of course, knowledge from years of experience, from people who have seen so much in our industry, and they are passing this knowledge to us today. And for me, I have learned so much, despite my own years of experience too. I've also learned so much from them. And I think all of us here seated also have learned so much from them too. Thank you, everybody. We'll like to have a tea break for now before we continue the program, so that we can come back and be able to close very early as much as possible. Thank you very much. Right? Maybe 30 minutes, max. Eh? Okay, then. No problem. Thank you then.